let me get this straight, right? So you get into a private, intimate space with people who pay you to cuddle with them and create some level of plutonic intimacy, for lack of a better word, right? Is that
That's a
what
good
you
way
would
to
call
put it? Yeah.
But like, how do you keep people from like crossing boundaries? Like, because I can imagine if someone was hugging me, right? And if I was remotely attracted to them, right? Or remotely like attracted to the actions that they were doing, I could get turned on. As a guy, when you get turned on, there's physical signs, right? So I don't know how many of your clients are men or women. Has there ever been like an extreme level of someone crossing a boundary in that space?
So it's interesting that you say it that way. So the fact that you mentioned that you think that you would get turned on if you were remotely attracted to that person.
Yeah.
Does that mean for you that because you're turned on, that you have to turn it sexual?
It's not that I have to, is even if I don't physically turn it sexual, mentally, right? The space of plutonic is gone. You see
in
what
your
I'm saying?
mind.
Yes, in my mind, mentally, right? So how does that affect the client? How does that affect you? Like, walk me through that.
Yeah. So it's just something I talk about pretty much in the very first call with every single person I see, because this is the reality. Like, most of the population is so used to touch mostly being a sexual thing or a violent thing, especially people that were socialized as men. That is the only relationships that many people have with touch. So to not have it be violent and be with somebody of the gender that you're attracted to, it's of course your body is going to respond as if it were in a sexual situation. That does, yes. And can I trust that even if that is happening? Because all feelings are welcome in a session with me. I don't care if somebody's depressed, happy, angry, or aroused. They can have those feelings and I can sit with them and accept them. What I'm not okay with is if they subject me to going further than that. I'm not okay with that. So
how often has that happened?
All the time.
All the time?
All the time.
Wait, hold on. Time out. Hold on. Wait a minute. You're saying you have clients, I would imagine, if you're saying all the time, a majority of your clients are men?
As of right now, I'd say about 80% of my clients are men.
80% of your clients, and these are heterosexual men?
As far as I know, we don't always have to talk about their sexuality, but I would assume maybe.
Fair enough. So 80% of your clients are men.
Mm-hmm.
And almost, if not all the time, they want to escalate beyond just a
No. That's very different. Your body responding to wanting to escalate is one thing. Actually wanting to is a very different story.
So they get aroused.
Actually acting upon it is a different story.
So
people get aroused. Everybody, like so many people get aroused, even if they don't want to get aroused, because they're so socialized into the touch in their body. Even if your mind is saying this is not a sexual experience, if your body is responding to it that way, that happens. And you know what? That's okay. As long as I feel safe with this person, that they're not going to harm me or do anything that I don't want to, they can have whatever feelings they want in a session. I don't care. It's okay.
Have you ever felt unsafe?
Maybe once. And it was because the person explicitly said that he wanted to do something to me, and I ended the session. One time in 6 years in this work.
Wow.
That's pretty good odds, honestly.
I mean, that is pretty good. I mean, I don't know how many sessions you have a year, per month, or whatever, but like, yeah, for that.
I tell you, I track that.
Huh?
I track that. I'm well over 2,000 hours of cuddling at this point.
Really? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
How much do you charge? If you don't mind me asking.
I hate this question, to be honest, because I don't charge a flat hour.
Give me a range of like how much a cuddler will make in your industry, from the lowest end to the top end. Like, give me a range.
It's so hard to track that because so many people start this as part-time work. I started this as part-time work.
Right.
So when I started, I was making $500 a month to cover rent, and that was great with me. Yeah. Now, because I do this work full-time after doing it part-time for a year, like I make anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a month.
So wow, wait a minute. Here's where I'm fascinated, right? It's not that you make that much cuddling. That's not where the fascination is, because I imagine if you're good at your job, you can find success in it if you market it right and you put it towards the right people. Where I'm fascinated is because you're not the only one who's a professional cuddler in this world, right? There's tons, right?
I can't cuddle all the people, so I hope there are.
Fair. But what fascinates me is that if you're able to make that much as an individual after 6 years per month, cuddling people for money, that there is such a market for it that you're receiving that kind of income, right? Because
absolutely,
it's not a widely expressed, industry to pay someone to cuddle with you in your private space or any space for that matter. What is it that you think is going on where there is such a big population of people who are offering money to provide a platonic, like, sense of touch, cuddling, hugging? What do you think is going on? Why is that?
When you say what I think is going on, are you asking
why do you think there's such a why do you think
come and see me?
Yeah, why do you think there's such a need for it?
Sure. I mean, it's also October 2021, so we just kind of went through a lot of isolation, and so it's even more like pressing now and more like clear, I think, to a lot more people. But even before then, people from all walks of life came to see me, but I noticed the common thread from every single person, regardless if they were like the Starbucks worker or like a fancy, like high end, like executive. Like
really?
They all had some level of disconnect in their lives.
Okay, I can see that. Like, especially during COVID, right? I imagine like during COVID, your clients like increase the volume.
Oh yeah. Once people had to be at least 6 feet away from each other, they're like, oh, sugar, I don't like this. I want to be close to somebody. How do I do that?
Yeah. There's probably some level of like intimacy that was stripped away from them. So I can imagine that, but you were doing this before COVID, right? Yeah. So prior to COVID, like that was still a marketplace for you, right? Mm-hmm. So if you take COVID aside, what was keeping people from getting that type of physical closeness to the point where they needed to pay someone to do it for them?
So, couple pieces there. The first one is that to boil it down to one answer is going to be so hard. I can give examples.
Okay.
So one example, and one of the things that actually helped me the most with my business, I used to go to like startup networking events, and I just tell people like, hi, nice to meet you. Tell me about your work. And they'd go down the rabbit hole. And my background is in engineering, so I'm able to keep up with the startup culture a lot. So then when they ask, oh, and what do you do? And I tell them I'm a professional cuddler. Like the answers I get, most people did not take
everybody's like, what?
Exactly. But the thing is, those people, those guys would go back to their friends and be like, you would not believe who I met at this networking event. I met a professional cuddler. Isn't that ridiculous? Even if they completely hated the idea that I did this, they'd talk about it. And then their friends would be on their phone like, oh yeah, what was that name again? Oh yeah, that's
and they would
really weird.
They would hit you up.
They would Google me, and then they'd become my clients. They can't talk about it because
that's kind of wild to me, because in the sense of like, that just means there's so many people that on the surface are talking about things that they wouldn't do and they like probably find taboo, but deep down it's something that they're yearning for. And if you give them the opportunity, they'll take advantage of it. I
mean, have you been on the internet? That's pretty clear that's out there.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, outside of cuddling, there's things that people like that most people in public would never admit to. But
yeah, but this is within the spectrum of like, it's not like, like, I feel like I would be more accepting of someone being into or paying for something that is extremely outlandish, right? Because it's something that potentially is going to be hard to experience just a normal day to day. Like if someone wanted to pay for something extremely kinky, if we're just going down that rabbit hole, right? Someone wanted to pay for that because you're not going to walk down the street and find somebody who's going to like, you know, wrap your like a rope around your neck and choke you and do this, that, and a third, like on a sexual sense. I'm not saying that's the world that you're in, but then something as simple as a hug or like, you know, someone like giving you a cuddle, that it's almost like some people, I think the reason why people aren't outspoken about it is they might feel ashamed that I can't even get a regular hug on a regular basis or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? And
there's people that there's people that think that it makes them a loser that they actually have to pay somebody for that, and it's so sad. And I've written about this a few times. The biggest thing is that there are so many circumstances where it's just not possible. And one of the biggest pieces that I noticed when my business started picking up the first time around was around when the Me Too movement came around.
The Me Too movement.
A lot of men.
Oh my God. That's so true. Go ahead.
Yeah. A lot of men had realized, oh, sugar, I'm being the a-hole here. I've been doing this and like hurting the women around me. That's why they're all arm's length from me. How do I change that? Guess what?
Oh, that's not the angle. That's not the angle I was thinking of, but okay.
But think about it, like those people are disconnected too, both from being able to have the connection they want and from being able to figure out how to get it themselves, because they don't have like that knowledge on how to treat people the way that they want to be treated and with respect. I'm trained in boundaries work. Me Too is a boundaries problem. So
no, it is.
So not only are they getting their cuddle needs met, they're learning how to communicate to get their needs met, whether they are in a session with me or not. I'm a practice partner on how to be around people and get physically close to people. If I put myself out of a job because they learn how to do that, I'm okay with that.
Wait, so you're saying that men have deliberately told you that they have been like how do I say this? They've been mistreating like women physically, and they found that through your, I guess, therapy or your sessions, they were able to cultivate a more, how do I say this? A more boundaryful experience with other people that they weren't able to do before?
Some people. And it's not just about like the physical, like, boundaries there, because like absolutely, like that's the easy thing. The harder thing is the emotional boundaries. And if the emotional boundaries are not honored, the physical is what you see. And as a result of that, if somebody can't trust you emotionally, they're not going to want to be near you.
Sure. So you do emotional work, not just the physical?
No,
so,
I need to. In order for me to feel safe, I need to feel connected to them. So absolutely, we're going to build a genuine connection in here. So
is this more of a mental therapy or physical? Or is it therapy at all? Or is it just like a physical service?
I am not a counselor. I am not trained as a counselor. However, what I have found is that by doing this work, we're able to access pieces of them that talk therapy alone will not be able to access. I actually like openly work with therapists to
that makes
back
sense.
And be like, hey, this came up, because so often somebody says something in a session, they're like, oh, wow, I've never told anybody that before. And I'm like, well, if you're seeing a therapist, maybe you should tell them.
Yeah,
That's probably a good idea. So I like to be able to like talk with that therapist and be like, hey, so this came up and I noticed it this way because I'm also physically close to them. So I'm going to experience them differently than a talk therapist will, because that's all in the head. I'm in the body.